3:30 in the morning, and I'm staring at my wife's phone like it's a ticking bomb. Mara forgot it on the kitchen counter. First time in 15 years of marriage, she's been separated from that device for more than 5 minutes. The screen keeps lighting up with notifications, and each buzz feels like a nail being hammered into my coffin. My name is Nick Harlow, and I used to think I knew my wife. The first text that caught my eye was from someone named T at 11:47 p.m. Can't wait to see you tomorrow night. Wear the red dress. Red dress? Mara told me she was going to a quarterly budget meeting with the advertising agency's board. Last I checked, board meetings didn't have dress codes that specific. I'm a contractor by trade, spent 10 years as a volunteer firefighter before that. You learn to notice details when lives depend on it. Right now, my gut is screaming that something's wrong with this picture. Another text pops up. Hotel room is booked, presidential suite this time. Presidential suite, for a budget meeting. Right. My hands are shaking as I scroll through more messages. There's a whole conversation thread going back weeks. T is apparently Trent Mallory, some hotshot executive at Mara's agency. The messages get progressively more intimate, more explicit. By the time I reach the photos she sent him, photos I've never seen, taken in lingerie I didn't know she owned. I'm fighting the urge to throw the phone against the wall, but I'm not stupid. I take screenshots of everything. The bedroom door creaks, and I hear Mara stirring upstairs. Quickly, I put the phone back exactly where she left it and retreat to my workshop in the basement. I need time to think, time to process what I just discovered. 22 years together, 15 married, 2 kids who are thankfully away at college and don't need to see their father's world imploding at 3 in the morning. I sit in my workshop chair, surrounded by the tools of my trade, and try to make sense of it all. The late nights at the office that became more frequent, the new clothes, the expensive perfume, the way she's been distant and irritable for months, all the pieces are falling into place now, forming a picture I should have seen coming. My phone buzzes. A text from my best friend Daryl. You awake? Saw your workshop light on. Daryl lives 2 streets over, works the night shift at the fire department. We've been friends since high school, and he's got a clear view of my backyard from his kitchen window. I text back, yeah, can't sleep. Discovered something tonight. Want to talk about it? Not over text. Tomorrow, maybe. Roger that. Hang in there, brother. I spend the rest of the night in that workshop, staring at the screenshots on my phone, trying to figure out what to do next. Part of me wants to storm upstairs and confront Mara right now. Part of me wants to pack a bag and disappear. But the part of me that spent years responding to emergencies, the part that learned to stay calm under pressure, tells me to gather more information first. By 6 a.m., I hear Mara moving around upstairs, getting ready for work. She comes down to the kitchen, and I emerge from the basement pretending I've been up early working on project estimates. Morning, she says, barely looking at me as she grabs her phone from the counter. I watch her face as she checks her messages. No guilt, no panic, just mild annoyance at whatever she's reading. How'd you sleep? I ask, testing the waters. Fine. You were up early. Couldn't sleep. Big project deadline coming up. She nods absently, still scrolling through her phone. I'll be late tonight. Board meeting, remember? Right. The quarterly budget thing. Exactly. She grabs her coffee and heads toward the garage. Don't wait up. After she leaves, I sit at the kitchen table with my own coffee and really look at my life for the first time in months. We've been going through the motions, 2 people sharing a house, but not really sharing anything else. When did we stop talking? When did she stop caring enough to even feel guilty about lying to my face? My neighbor, Mrs. Grundy, is already in her garden when I step outside to grab the newspaper. She's 70-something, retired, and knows everything that happens on our street. Morning, Nick, she calls over. Saw Mara leave early yesterday, too. She's been putting in long hours lately. Yeah, busy season at the agency. She gives me a look that suggests she knows more than she's saying. Funny thing, though, I was up late Monday night with my insomnia, and I could have sworn I saw a car that looked just like hers coming home around midnight, but then I saw it leave again 20 minutes later. My blood runs cold. Monday night, Mara told me she was staying late to finish a presentation. Probably just someone with a similar car, I managed to say. Probably. Mrs. Grundy agrees, but her tone suggests she doesn't believe it any more than I do. Back inside, I make a decision. I'm going to find out exactly what my wife is up to, but I'm going to be smart about it. I'm going to gather evidence, document everything, and when I'm ready to make my move, I'm going to make sure I have all the ammunition I need. I call in sick to work, first time in 3 years, and spend the morning going through Mara's home office. She's always been secretive about her work, claiming client confidentiality, but I've never had reason to be suspicious before. In the back of her desk drawer, behind a stack of old business cards, I find a USB drive. It's not labeled, just a plain black drive that looks like it's been hidden there deliberately. I plug it into my laptop and find a folder labeled Insurance. Inside are audio files, dozens of them, all recorded on Mara's phone over the past 6 months. I click on the most recent one. It's a conversation between Mara and her sister Victoria. My hands clench into fists as I listen. "Nick is so predictable," Mara's voice says through my laptop speakers. "I can push him to exactly the right level of jealousy without him actually doing anything about it." "You're playing with fire," Victoria responds. "What if he finds out about Trent?" "He won't. And if he does, I'll just tell him he's being paranoid and controlling. I've been laying the groundwork for months, making him think he's the problem in our marriage. When I'm ready to file for divorce, I'll have plenty of evidence that he's emotionally abusive." "That's cold, even for you." "It's strategic. The prenup protects most of my assets, but if I can prove he was abusive or controlling, I can break it entirely. Plus, I'll get alimony and probably the house." I stop the recording and stare at the screen. My wife hasn't just been cheating on me. She's been systematically manipulating me, gaslighting me, setting me up to be the villain in our divorce story. But she made one crucial mistake. She documented her plan. I spend the next week in a strange state of hyper-awareness, watching my wife like she's a suspect in an investigation. In a way, I guess she is. Every morning, she leaves for work with her usual distracted goodbye. Every evening, she comes home later and later, always with an excuse about client meetings or project deadlines. And every night after she falls asleep, I continue my investigation. The USB drive is a goldmine. Mara has been recording conversations for months, building what she thinks is a case against me, but what she's actually done is create a detailed record of her own deception. In one recording, she's coaching Victoria on what to say if anyone asks about Mara's whereabouts. In another, she's discussing with someone named Carolyn, her agency's HR director, how to document instances of my supposed controlling behavior. The most damning recording is from 3 weeks ago. Mara is talking to Trent, and they're not just discussing their affair, they're planning it like a military operation. "Nick's at his most vulnerable right now," Mara says. "The construction business is slow, he's stressed about money, and he's already starting to withdraw. If I push him a little harder, he'll either blow up, which gives me grounds for a restraining order, or he'll shut down completely, which makes him look like an emotionally absent husband." "You're sure he won't just file for divorce himself?" Trent asks. "Nick, please, he's too traditional, too loyal. He'll try to fix the marriage right up until I serve him papers. And by then, it'll be too late." I have to pause the recording because my hands are shaking too badly to control the mouse. They're wrong about me, though. I'm not going to blow up, and I'm not going to shut down. I'm going to do what I do best: solve the problem systematically and thoroughly. The next morning, I follow Mara to work. She drives to her agency's building downtown, parks in her usual spot, and goes inside. Normal routine. But at 11:30 a.m., she comes back out, gets in her car, and drives across town to a coffee shop I've never heard of. Trent Mallory is waiting for her at a corner table. I park across the street and watch them through the window. Even from a distance, their body language tells the whole story. Leaning in close, touching hands across the table, her throwing her head back and laughing at something he said. They look like teenagers in love, not colleagues having a business meeting. I take photos with my phone, making sure to capture the timestamps. They spend an hour together before going their separate ways. Mara returns to work, and Trent drives to what I assume is his own office. I follow him instead of her, curious about this man who's been sleeping with my wife. Trent works at a smaller agency across town, one that competes directly with Mara's company. That's interesting. I make a note to research whether there are any conflicts of interest in their relationship. His car is a leased BMW, probably costs more per month than most people's mortgage. His clothes are expensive, his haircut is expensive, everything about him screams money. But as I watch him interact with the parking attendant, I notice something. He's the kind of guy who treats service workers like they're invisible. The kind of guy who thinks his money makes him better than everyone else. I've met plenty of guys like Trent in my years as a firefighter. They're usually the ones standing outside burning buildings, more worried about their insurance claims than whether everyone got out safely. That evening, Mara comes home at her usual late hour. She's in a good mood, humming while she makes herself a salad for dinner. "How was your day?" I ask, the same question I've asked every night for 15 years. "Busy. Landed a new client today, actually. Big account." "That's great. Anyone I'd know?" "Probably not. It's a tech startup downtown." I nod and pretend to be interested in my own dinner, but I'm filing away every detail, every lie, every casual deception. Later that night, after she's asleep, I go through her purse. I find a receipt from an expensive restaurant downtown, dated today, for 2 meals. The same restaurant where I watched her meet Trent 3 days ago. But the most interesting thing I find is a business card for a divorce attorney. It's tucked behind her credit cards, like she's been carrying it around but doesn't want to risk leaving it somewhere I might find it. The attorney's name is familiar. He's known around town for handling high-profile divorces, the kind where wealthy spouses try to hide assets or destroy their ex-partners' reputations. He's expensive, ruthless, and very good at what he does. I take a photo of the card and put it back exactly where I found it. By Friday, I have enough evidence to confront Mara, but I'm not ready yet. I want to understand the full scope of what I'm dealing with, so I decide to visit someone who might have more insight into my wife's recent behavior. Daryl and I meet at Murphy's, the bar where all the local firefighters and contractors hang out after work. It's the kind of place where everyone knows everyone, and gossip travels fast. "You look like hell," Daryl says, as I sit down across from him. "Feel like it too." I order a beer and try to figure out how much to tell him. "This about Mara?" I nod. "How much do you know about what's been going on with us?" "I know she's been working late a lot. I know you've been spending more time in your workshop. And I know you've had that look on your face for the past month, like you're trying to solve a puzzle." "What if I told you the puzzle was worse than I thought?" Daryl leans forward. "How much worse?" I pull out my phone and show him one of the photos I took of Mara and Trent at the coffee shop. "She's been having an affair, for months." "Jesus, Nick." He studies the photo. "You sure about this?" "I've got audio recordings of her planning it. She's not just cheating, Daryl. She's setting me up. She wants me to find out, wants me to react badly so she can use it against me in divorce court." He shakes his head. "That's cold, even for someone ending a marriage." "It gets worse. She's been recording our conversations, trying to build a case that I'm controlling or abusive. She's got her sister and some people at work helping her." Daryl is quiet for a long moment, processing what I've told him. Finally, he looks up at me. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know yet, but I'm not going to let her destroy me. You need a lawyer." "I know. But first, I need to understand exactly what I'm up against." We sit in comfortable silence for a while, nursing our beers and watching the Friday night crowd filter in. Then Red, the bartender who's been working at Murphy's for 20 years, leans over the bar toward us. "You boys talking about anything interesting?" she asks with a grin. Red knows everything that happens in this town. If there's gossip to be had, she's heard it first. "Just work stuff," I say automatically. "Uh-huh." She gives me a knowing look. "You know, Nick, I've been meaning to ask you something. Your wife still working at that fancy ad agency downtown?" "Yeah." "Why?" "Oh, no reason. It's just that I've got a friend who works at Marcello's, that Italian place on 5th Street. She mentioned seeing someone who looked just like Mara there a few times recently. Always with the same guy, always very cozy." My stomach drops. When was this? Past month or so. My friend noticed because they always requested the same corner table, the one that's kind of hidden from the main dining room. She thought maybe they were celebrities or something, trying to avoid attention. Daryl and I exchange glances. "What did the guy look like?" he asks. "Tall, dark hair, expensive suit. Drove a fancy BMW. Real smooth type, if you know what I mean." "That's Trent, all right." "Your friend mention anything else?" I ask, trying to keep my voice casual. Just that they seemed very intimate. Not like business associates, if you catch my drift. After Red moves on to other customers, Daryl looks at me seriously. "Nick, half the town probably knows about this affair by now." "Great. So when Mara files for divorce and tries to paint me as the bad guy, everyone will know she's full of shit." "Maybe. Or maybe people will think you knew and didn't do anything about it." That hits me like a punch to the gut. In a small town like ours, reputation matters. If people think I'm weak, if they think I let my wife walk all over me, it'll affect my business, my friendships, everything. "I need to make a move," I say. "But it has to be the right move." "What are you thinking?" I take a long drink of my beer and consider my options. I'm thinking it's time to have a conversation with my wife. Saturday morning, Mara is in the kitchen making coffee when I come upstairs from my workshop. She's dressed casually, jeans and a sweater, but she's wearing makeup and perfume. On a Saturday morning, to drink coffee in our kitchen. "Going somewhere today?" I ask. "Just running some errands, maybe meeting Victoria for lunch." Another lie. I checked Victoria's social media last night, and she's in Boston this weekend for her boyfriend's family reunion. "Sounds nice. Mind if we talk first?" Something in my tone makes her look up from her coffee. "Talk about what?" I sit down across from her at the kitchen table, the same table where we've shared thousands of meals over the years. "About us. About where we're headed." "Nick, if this is about me working late, it's not about you working late." I pull out my phone and set it on the table between us. "It's about Trent Mallory." The color drains from her face, but she recovers quickly. "Who?" "Come on, Mara. We're past that now." She stares at me for a long moment, and I can almost see her calculating her next move. Finally, she straightens up and crosses her arms. "I don't know what you think you know, but I know you've been having an affair for months. I know you've been planning to divorce me and trying to set me up to look like the bad guy. I know about the recordings, the coaching sessions with Victoria, the whole elaborate scheme." Her face goes through several expressions: surprise, anger, fear, and finally a cold calculation that I've never seen before. "You went through my things. You left your phone on the counter. So you violated my privacy. You've been screwing another man and planning to destroy my reputation. I think we're a little past worrying about privacy." She stands up abruptly, pacing to the window. When she turns back to me, she's transformed into someone I don't recognize. The mask is off, and what's underneath is harder and crueler than I ever imagined. "Fine," she says. "You want to do this now? Let's do this." I'm listening. "You're damn right I'm seeing someone else. You know why? Because being married to you is like being married to a piece of furniture. You go to work, you come home, you sit in that basement workshop for hours, and you act like that's enough. When's the last time you took me anywhere nice? When's the last time you bought me something that wasn't practical? When's the last time you made me feel like a woman instead of a roommate? Her words sting, because there's some truth in them. We have grown apart. I have been distant. But that doesn't justify what she's done. So instead of talking to me about it, you decided to have an affair and frame me as an abusive husband? I decided to protect myself. You think I don't know how these things go? The wife leaves, and suddenly she's the villain. She's the one who broke up the happy home. Well, not this time. By lying about me? By recording our conversations and taking them out of context? By documenting the truth? You are controlling, Nick. You want to know where I am every minute. You question my work schedule, my friends, my decisions. Because you've been lying to me. I've been trying to live my life. We're both standing now, facing each other across the kitchen like opponents in a boxing ring. This is the moment she's been waiting for, the moment she wants me to lose control and give her the ammunition she needs. But I don't lose control. Instead, I take a deep breath and sit back down. You're right, I say quietly. She blinks, clearly not expecting that response. What? You're right. I have been distant. I have been taking you for granted. Our marriage has problems, and I'm partly responsible for that. She sits down slowly, suspicion written all over her face. But here's the thing, Mara. When you have problems in a marriage, you work on them together. You don't have an affair. You don't lie and manipulate and scheme. And you sure as hell don't try to destroy your spouse's reputation to cover your own guilt. I never— Oh, stop being jealous, I interrupt, mimicking her voice. What's wrong with going on dates with my coworkers? They all have a chance with me, so stop being jealous or I'll file for divorce. Her face goes white. Those are her exact words from one of the recordings, part of a conversation where she was practicing what to say to me. I said, "Okay, I'll file for you." No, you misunderstood, she says quickly, just like in the recording. I understood perfectly, I continue, and I've decided I should divorce you. She stares at me in shock. This isn't how the script was supposed to go. She was supposed to threaten divorce, I was supposed to beg her not to leave, and she was supposed to have all the power. Nick, wait. Let's not be hasty here. Hasty? You've been planning this for months. I was angry. I was hurt. People say things they don't mean when they're hurt. Do they record those things and save them as evidence? She has no answer for that. Here's what's going to happen, I continue. I'm going to file for divorce on Monday. I'm going to cite adultery as the grounds, and I have plenty of evidence to support it. The prenup you're so worried about, it has an infidelity clause. You cheat, you get nothing. You can't prove photos, recordings, receipts, witness statements. I can prove all of it. She's crying now, but they're angry tears, not sad ones. This isn't over, Nick. You think you're so smart, but you have no idea what you're dealing with. Enlighten me. I have friends. I have connections. I have people who will back up my version of events. You mean Carolyn from HR? The one who's been helping you falsify documentation? I wonder how your company's board would feel about that. Her face goes completely pale. How do you know about that? Because you recorded yourself discussing it, Mara. You documented your own conspiracy. I stand up and head toward the door. I'm going to Daryl's for the day. When I get back tonight, I'd like you to be staying somewhere else. We can work out the details through lawyers. Nick, please, we can work this out. I turn back to look at her one more time. She's still beautiful, still the woman I fell in love with 22 years ago. But she's also a stranger, someone who was willing to destroy me to get what she wanted. No, I say. We can't. By Sunday evening, Mara has moved in with her sister Victoria, who apparently cut her Boston trip short to provide emotional support. I know this because Mrs. Grundy saw the moving truck and felt compelled to share the information while I was getting my mail. Shame about you and Mara, she says, not looking particularly shameful. Though I can't say I'm entirely surprised. Why's that? Well, a woman doesn't start dressing differently and buying new perfume for her husband after 15 years of marriage, if you know what I mean. I'm starting to realize that everyone in the neighborhood has been watching my marriage fall apart in real time. It's embarrassing, but it also means I'll have plenty of witnesses if I need them. Monday morning, I'm at my lawyer's office when it opens. Tom Bradley has been handling legal work for local contractors for 20 years, and while he's not a divorce specialist, he's smart and thorough. "This is a hell of a thing, Nick," he says after reviewing the evidence I've brought him. "I've seen plenty of messy divorces, but I've never seen someone document their own deception this thoroughly. What are my chances? With this evidence, the adultery is clear-cut, which voids the alimony provisions in your prenup. The house is in both your names, but given her infidelity and the fact that she's been planning this deception, I think we can make a strong case for you to keep it. What about her claims that I was controlling or abusive?" Tom scrolls through the transcripts I've provided. These recordings actually work against her. She's clearly manipulating situations to provoke reactions from you, and then mischaracterizing your responses. Any judge will see through that. "So, we file today?" "We file today. But Nick, you should know that she's probably not going to go quietly. People who plan elaborate schemes like this don't usually accept defeat gracefully." He's right. By Wednesday, I'm getting calls from mutual friends who've heard Mara's version of events. According to her, I became suspicious and paranoid, started spying on her, and filed for divorce when she tried to maintain some independence. The first call is from Jake Turnbull, a guy from Mara's agency who I've met at a few company parties over the years. "Nick, man, I heard about you and Mara. That's rough." "Yeah, it's been a difficult time. Look, I don't want to get in the middle of anything, but Mara's pretty upset. She says you went through her personal things, accused her of stuff she didn't do." "Jake, did Mara tell you she's been having an affair?" There's a long pause. "She said you thought she was, but that you were wrong. I have photos of her with Trent Mallory. I have text messages between them. I have recordings of her planning the affair." Another pause. Longer this time. "Recordings?" "She recorded herself, Jake. Hours of conversations about how she was going to manipulate me and set me up for divorce. That doesn't sound like Mara. It didn't sound like the Mara I thought I knew either. But it's the Mara she actually is." After I hang up with Jake, I realize that Mara's support network is going to be a problem. She's been building relationships and crafting her narrative for months. I've been focused on my work and my workshop, not on maintaining friendships or managing my reputation. But I have something she doesn't: the truth. That evening, I get a call from Daryl. "You need to get down to Murphy's," he says. "Why?" "Because Mara and Victoria are here, and they're telling everyone who'll listen that you're an abusive husband who drove your wife into another man's arms." I'm at Murphy's in 10 minutes. Mara and Victoria are at a table in the corner, surrounded by a small crowd of people I recognize from around town. Mara is crying, real tears this time, and Victoria is rubbing her shoulder supportively. "He was so controlling," I hear Mara saying as I approach. "He wanted to know where I was every minute. He went through my phone, my personal papers, everything. I felt like a prisoner in my own house." "That's terrible," says Linda Morrison, who works at the bank. "No woman should have to live like that." And when I finally started standing up for myself, he accused me of having an affair. He said horrible things, threatened me. I clear my throat, and the whole table turns to look at me. The sympathy in their eyes turns to suspicion and discomfort. "Hello, Mara," I say calmly. "Nick." Her voice is cold. "I didn't expect to see you here. It's my regular bar, has been for 15 years. Victoria stands up, putting herself between me and her sister. "I think you should leave, Nick. You've done enough damage." "Have I? What damage is that exactly?" "You know what you did." I look around the table at the faces staring at me. These are people I've known for years, people whose homes I've worked on, whose emergencies I've responded to as a volunteer firefighter, and they're looking at me like I'm a stranger. Mara, I say, tell them about Trent Mallory. Her face goes rigid. I don't know what you're talking about. Tell them about the hotel rooms, the restaurants, the text messages. You're delusional. I pull out my phone and scroll to one of the photos I took of her and Trent at the coffee shop. I set it on the table where everyone can see it. The silence is deafening. This was taken last Tuesday, I say, while Mara was supposedly in a board meeting. Mara stares at the photo, then looks up at me with pure hatred in her eyes. You followed me. I followed my wife, who I suspected was lying to me. Turns out I was right. That doesn't prove anything, Victoria says quickly. People have business meetings outside the office all the time. You're right, I agree, which is why I also have these. I scroll to the text message screenshots and set my phone back on the table. The messages are explicit enough that several people at the table look uncomfortable. Nick, Linda Morrison says quietly, maybe this isn't the place for what? For the truth? I look directly at Mara. You wanted to have this conversation in public. You wanted to control the narrative. So let's have the whole conversation. I pull up the audio app on my phone and play one of the recordings I made from Mara's USB drive. Her voice fills the bar, clear and unmistakable. Nick is so predictable, I can push him to exactly the right level of jealousy without him actually doing anything about it. The people at the table look shocked. Mara looks like she wants to disappear. Should I play the one where you discuss falsifying evidence of abuse? I ask. Or maybe the one where you and Trent plan your hotel meetings? Stop, she whispers. Stop what? Telling the truth? Defending myself against your lies? Victoria stands up abruptly. We're leaving. Good idea, I say. But Mara, next time you want to destroy someone's reputation, you might want to make sure you don't record yourself planning it. As they gather their things and hurry toward the exit, the people at the table sit in stunned silence. Finally, Linda Morrison looks up at me. Nick, I'm so sorry. We had no idea. It's okay. You heard one side of the story, and you reacted like decent people. I can't fault you for that. Red appears at my elbow with a beer I didn't order. On the house, she says. And for what it's worth, I never believed a word of it. Why not? Because I've known you for 15 years, and you've never been anything but a gentleman. Even when you're angry, like right now, you don't lose control. That's not who you are. I spend the next hour at Murphy's, and one by one, people come over to apologize for believing Mara's story. By the time I leave, I feel like I've won back some of the ground she tried to take from me. But I know this isn't over. Mara's not the type to give up easily, and she still has allies I don't know about. Thursday morning, I get a call from Tom Bradley that changes everything. Nick, we have a problem. Mara's attorney filed a motion for a restraining order. She's claiming you threatened her at the bar Monday night. That's bullshit. There were a dozen witnesses. I know, but we have to take it seriously. The hearing is this afternoon. Can you get some of those witnesses to come testify? By 2 p.m., I'm sitting in a courthouse conference room with Tom, facing Mara and her expensive divorce attorney, Richard Steinberg. Mara won't look at me directly, but I can see she's been crying. She's wearing a conservative dress and minimal makeup, trying to look like a victim. Behind us, Daryl, Red, and Linda Morrison sit in the gallery, ready to testify on my behalf. Your Honor, Steinberg begins. My client has been subjected to a campaign of harassment and intimidation by her estranged husband. He has stalked her, violated her privacy, and publicly humiliated her. She fears for her safety. The judge, a woman in her 60s named Patricia Henley, looks skeptical. What specific threats were made? He confronted her in a public place, surrounded by his friends, and played private recordings without her consent. He made it clear that he has been following her and documenting her activities. Mr. Bradley? Judge Henley turns to my lawyer. Your Honor, my client discovered his wife was having an affair and planning to falsely accuse him of abuse in divorce proceedings. He has extensive evidence of her deception, including recordings she made herself. His confrontation with her at the bar was in response to her publicly defaming his character with false accusations. I'd like to hear from the witnesses. Red testifies first, describing exactly what happened at Murphy's. Mr. Harlow was calm and controlled the entire time. He presented evidence to defend himself against false accusations. At no point did he threaten anyone or raise his voice. Linda Morrison confirms Red's account, adding, I was one of the people who believed Mrs. Harlow's initial story. When I heard the recordings and saw the evidence, I realized we had been misled. Mr. Harlow had every right to defend himself. Daryl's testimony is the most powerful. I've known Nick Harlow for 25 years. I've seen him in crisis situations, life and death emergencies, domestic disputes as a volunteer firefighter. He has never, not once, lost control or acted aggressively toward anyone. If he says his wife was planning to frame him, I believe him completely. When it's Mara's turn to testify, she's composed and articulate. She describes feeling terrorized by my surveillance and ambushed at the bar. She claims the recordings were taken out of context and that I've been emotionally abusive for months. But when Tom cross-examines her, cracks start to show. Mrs. Harlow, you testified that these recordings were taken out of context. Can you explain the context that would make this statement acceptable? I can push him to exactly the right level of jealousy without him actually doing anything about it. I was venting to my sister about marital problems. By discussing how you could manipulate your husband? That's not what I meant. What about this statement? When I'm ready to file for divorce, I'll have plenty of evidence that he's emotionally abusive. What context makes that acceptable? Mara struggles to answer. I was afraid. I was trying to protect myself. By creating false evidence? I wasn't creating false evidence. I was documenting real problems in our marriage. Tom plays another recording, this one of Mara coaching Victoria on what to say if anyone asked about Mara's whereabouts. The judge listens with a deepening frown. Mrs. Harlow, this recording suggests you were planning to have your sister lie to cover up your affair. Is that correct? I needed some space to figure things out. By committing adultery? Steinberg objects, but the damage is done. Judge Henley has heard enough. I'm denying the motion for a restraining order, she says. While I understand that divorce proceedings can be emotionally charged, I see no evidence that Mr. Harlow has threatened or endangered his wife. In fact, the evidence suggests that Mrs. Harlow has been less than truthful about the circumstances of this marriage's breakdown. As we leave the courthouse, Mara finally looks directly at me. The hatred in her eyes is so intense, it's almost physical. This isn't over, she says quietly. Yes, it is, I reply. You just don't know it yet. That night, I'm in my workshop when my phone rings. It's Jake Turnbull from Mara's agency. Nick, I owe you an apology. I talked to some people at work today and, well, let's just say Mara's story doesn't hold up under scrutiny. What do you mean? I mean, everyone here knows about her and Trent. It's been going on for months, and it's been pretty obvious. When she started telling people you were abusive, a lot of us were confused because that didn't match what we knew about you. What changed your mind? Carolyn in HR let something slip today. She mentioned helping Mara document problems in her marriage, but when I pressed her for details, she clammed up. It made me realize that maybe Mara's been playing games with all of us. This is interesting. Carolyn is one of Mara's key allies, and if she's starting to crack under pressure, it could open up new opportunities. Jake, can I ask you something? Has Mara ever asked you to lie for her? Cover for her whereabouts, that kind of thing? There's a long pause. Yeah, actually. A few times. She said it was because you were being controlling, checking up on her all the time. What if I told you I never called her work to check up on her? Not once in 15 years of marriage. Another pause. Then I'd say Mara's been lying to a lot of people. Would you be willing to put that in writing? You mean like an affidavit? Exactly like an affidavit. Yeah, I think I would. This whole thing has been eating at me. I don't like being used. After I hang up with Jake, I sit in my workshop and think about how quickly Mara's network is starting to crumble. She built her support system on lies, and lies have a way of collapsing under their own weight. But I know she's not going to give up easily. If anything, the failed restraining order will make her more desperate, more dangerous. I'm right. Friday morning, I arrive at a job site to find that someone has slashed all 4 tires on my work truck and spray-painted "wife beater" across the windshield. The police take a report, but there are no witnesses and no security cameras. They can't prove who did it, but we all know. This is escalating, Tom Bradley tells me when I call to report the vandalism. Mara's getting desperate. What can we do about it? Document everything, take photos, file police reports, keep records, and be careful, Nick. Desperate people do stupid things. That afternoon, I'm replacing the windshield on my truck when Daryl pulls up. Heard about your truck, he says. This is getting out of hand. Yeah, it is. You know what I think? I think it's time to stop playing defense. What do you mean? I mean you've been reacting to her moves this whole time. Maybe it's time to make some moves of your own. I look at my friend, this man who's had my back for 25 years, and I realize he's right. I've been so focused on defending myself that I haven't been thinking strategically. What did you have in mind? I'm thinking it's time to have a conversation with Trent Mallory.